Guten Erev Shabbos, Rabbi. I must say that I'm definitely missing everybody, and I definitely cannot wait to be back to what used to be normal, getting used to the new normal now. But Afal Pikain, giving our Erev Shabbos message. And the message for this week is Shabbos HaGadol. So this is actually, you do get some miles over here. You don't have to go to a Shabbos HaGadol drasha. But, so, count your blessings, silver linings in the clouds over here. But at the same time, we will give a small message for Shabbos. And I specifically stayed away from the music this week because, unfortunately, the situation has progressed. And the truth is we should have taken this message a long time ago. And the messages up until now were take the message and they were on a positive note, and I want to remain on a positive note. A person should be still filled with simcha. You should still be serving Hashem with simcha. You should still going around your life with simcha, even if a person has, some symptoms and whatnot, or fever. But l'maisa, at the end of the day, the squeezing that the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing to Klal Yisrael is getting harder. More and more people are being nifter. Go to the yeshiva world, go to Matzav. Every single day, another Gadol, another Rebbe, another Rosh Yeshiva, another Magid Shir, another person who donated his whole life to Torah. And it's getting to be a very scary situation. This is definitely a time of severe din on Klal Yisrael. And a person has to know what to do. Just to take life on and ignore what's going on out there would be terrible. It would be a waste of any of the squeezing that Hashem is doing. Hashem wants us to be good people. If we're already being good people, then great. And if we're not already being good people, then Hashem wants us to change. And unfortunately, to change, there sometimes has to be pain. And Hashem is so kind that sometimes He spares the pain from ourselves, but we're supposed to learn from our neighbors. So if a person just keeps going on his daily life in and out and without going ahead and changing, that's very callous. So I would like to mention 2 points. Point number 1 is again focusing on why these things are happening, specifically to what exactly is this idea that we're davening by ourselves and we're learning by ourselves? A thought occurred to me, and similar to the first speech, the first Chizuk speech that we gave when the shuls were canceled, was that Hashem wants us to start working harder just to maintain status quo. A drop of a twist on that. You see, a lot of times when a person goes to shul, he davens in a certain way only because people are watching him. Sometimes he davens better than he would be because people are watching him. He's not gonna, people are watching him, so he's gonna have to daven at least a Shemona Esrei that lasts at least 30 seconds long. But now that people aren't watching him, he could daven a Shemona Esrei that's 25 seconds long, or not daven at all. And then you have other people who would really daven a 50-minute Shemona Esrei, but they can't because they're tied down to a tzibur. So a lot of people aren't their real self when they are amongst other people. Maybe, just maybe, Hashem wants to see a sample of Klal Yisrael, of real people. How do you daven without any other thing affecting you? With no peer pressure? With no worrying about what society has to say about you? Do you really have a deep connection to Hashem? Or are you not having a deep connection to Hashem, but rather it's just something that you're doing because of other people, for the good or for the bad? Is your connection to Hashem, could it be deeper? Would you be maybe crying during davening, but you can't because the tzibur is there? So therefore, it could be that the reason why, I'm not a Novi like I said in the first speech, and I'm not a Ben Novi, and I'm not coming to say and guess it. I'm just saying a point that you can take out from here. A point that you can take out from here is that true selves are being discovered over here. True relationships with Hashem are being discovered over here. People who find themselves not davening are like, oh, is the only reason I'm davening because society looked at me like that? If that's the way we're davening, then we really, really have to look at ourselves and improve. And it's going to take a lot of difficult soul searching to find out what needs to be improved. And even more difficult to actually make that step and improve. Actually, I'm not sure which step is more difficult. That's point number one I want to make. And point number two I want to make, and we'll tie it in together, is that it says that matzah, this is because it's because we are over here in a and on Shabbos HaGadol, it says that matzah is A, the bread of affliction, it's the bread that lechem oini, and B, it's the bread that we got when we went out of Mitzrayim. And a question, what do you mean it's the bread that we got when we went out of Mitzrayim? That's what we remember. For example, a person is in he's in one of the Auschwitz camps or whatever, he's in the gulags in Soviet Union, and suddenly he has, for 50 years, all he has is just potato peels. Suddenly, he gets out, Americans come, he rescues him, he's on the plane back, and they're like, listen, buddy, we're about to land in America, but until then, I'm sorry, we have no food except potato peels. Here's some potato peels. So he'll eat them. Is he going to remember forever the potato peels that he had on the plane? He's going to use that as the symbol of his freedom when for 200 years he used that as the symbol of his lechem oini. How could we use the same thing as the symbol of our freedom as the symbol of our pain? Wait until your first meal back in Eretz Yisrael, and your first real meal, that's what we'll remember forever. Why are we remembering the very thing that we were struggling with? The answer is because when we were in Mitzrayim and we were waiting to get free, we were not waiting for that sandwich. We were not waiting for the double burger, the BLT. We were not waiting for it. Freedom for us didn't mean going ahead and doing what we want in the Gashmias world. Freedom meant being able to serve Hashem. That's what freedom meant. And therefore, the very first mitzvah that we got our hands on, which was matzah, we used and commemorate forever. This is actually the symbol of freedom. We are happy. It's not a plain matzah as we would view it in the Gashmias world, but rather it is a symbol for our freedom. Because it's not the Gashmias part of it that counts. It's the symbolic part behind it, which means so much to us. It's much deeper than that. It means so much more. When you eat matzah and you have a connection to Hashem on Pesach night, it's so much more deep and meaningful than just, I'm eating a cracker. You realize you're connecting to Hashem with that act. And you have to go ahead and work on that and bring out those emotions when you do these mitzvahs. It's so much deeper. Life is so much deeper than just the physical acts that we do. And we have to internalize that. And therefore, indeed, when we got out of Mitzrayim and we were able to perform that first mitzvah, it was an amazing feeling for us. Because that first mitzvah was the actual symbol of freedom that we are taking. And now to tie it in with what we just said. A person has to really work on internalizing these feelings by himself. If he goes through a Shabbos, if you go through a Shabbos without feeling connected to Hashem, without really enjoying Hashem, then there's something missing. You have to work on that. If you go through a Shemoneh Esrei without feeling connected to Hashem, you could totally change who you are if you just work on that connection. Last week we talked about making a 10-minute Shemoneh Esrei. I really think that people should work on that. Try to get a 10-minute Shemoneh Esrei. Put the clock on. This way you're forced to build a connection to Hashem. Use your own desires that you really want. Hashem, I really, really want X. And use that as a building block. Because that's what they're there for. The same way that the Avos didn't have children for so many years. They used their own pain to connect to Hashem. That's what Hashem wants from us. That's our job. And I'm sorry again I didn't do music on this today, because it's really something we have to take seriously now. Klal Yisrael is in a dire situation. Yes, there's a lot good going on, but we have to realize that it's time we introspect. It's time we go ahead and improve who we are. Improve who we are by realizing the major effects of mitzvahs, of how mitzvahs are really good for us. And how matzah is not just lechem oini, but it is the first mitzvah that we were able to do. And to realize that on our own is the real report card. Now is the time that we really are who we are. Are we learning during these days? When was the last time we saw a Hebrew letter 3 weeks ago when we were in shul? This is what we have to work on. This is the Shabbos HaGadol drasha. I'm sorry it sounds more like a Shabbos Shuvah drasha, but that's the situation Klal Yisrael is in. Again, I wish you tons of atzlacha, and the Olam should continue to steig away.